Mm. Welcome back to another week here at Side Hustles by Seoenz. I am Juan Carlos Enriquez.
And I'm Heidi So, and together we are Seoenz.
Today, our host, Heidi, a Paso Airbnb expert, will talk about her Airbnb communication strategy and best practices. Before we go into the topic of today, will you give us an introduction on what Airbnb communication is like?
So Airbnb, it's a platform. So you can download an app or you can have it on the desktop. And through there, obviously you can book your place that you want to stay. And it lets you send a message to a host asking if the space is available. Or sometimes it also just lets you instant book. And when you are able to instant book, just means that you pass through all of the requirements that a host has for you to be able to just instantly book without them having to pre-approve you. Now, what can I possibly say about the communication platform? They've been getting better. I feel they've been doing major changes recently, where you can just send right now you can do some sort of automation. You can schedule messages through the Airbnb app, or you also can save quick responses. So you can have like messages there that if you have like this ongoing question, then that way you can just automatically have it saved and you don't have to be typing it out every single time. You could just go to your quick replies and then you can send it through. But I think that's pretty much right now the communication platform for Airbnb. They've been getting better, but it's just your typical, just sending a message, getting a message back. You're able to send pictures, but only after they've booked. You cannot send pictures before a booking is confirmed. You cannot send telephone numbers, emails. That information is private. Airbnb actually blocks it off. If you're sending those type of information, they'll just block it and they won't share it until the booking is confirmed. There's also a way where they automatically like flag certain people. So if it's spam, so if you are just a random stranger, right, and you're trying to book a place with me and you ask me, hey, can you text me to my number because I want to get in touch with you before booking, Airbnb will flag you. They will flag you as a spam, and they will say, please be careful with this booking request because we might think it's either spam or it's dangerous since they're asking you. So they are able to see that you're asking to communicate outside the platform. And it's not a bad thing. I really like it because they try to keep it safe. They try to monitor more and see what's going on with the guests and the hosts. And I approve that. It's not like it bothers me because in reality, I like that they make sure they verify the guests that are going to come and stay at my home. So if they're able to have those red flags on people that are just trying to spam you or just trying to, I don't know, do something, then it's better for all of us. But I think that's pretty much right now, like with the whole Airbnb platform, how they're, changing their way of being more automated.
Okay, so now we have a little bit on insight on the communication platform. So now let's go into the topic, which is the communication strategy that Heidi takes as an Airbnb expert and superhost here in El Paso, Texas. So she does number one, politeness and professionalism. Can you go more in depth into that topic?
Well, the only thing, obviously you have to be professional. You cannot talk to these people like they're your friends because they're not your friends. They're paying. That's the key word. They're paying guests. Okay. So they're not staying there for free. They're paying you to provide this service. So just like any hotel, you have to make sure that the people that are talking to them are professional, that they know their place, that they know that, they're like it's important for them to be comfortable. And if anything's going on, always try and keep him on the know. We try very hard to just always let them know if we're gonna go in, if there's any issue happening, if the AC is not working, if we're trying to get, something fixed, or if we had to make a late stop because of a certain situation. But all obviously always sending messages at appropriate hours. And if it's not possible, either way, just letting them know, hey, you know what, this is what's going on. Because issues will always arise, but how you react and how you respond to these messages, it's very important, especially because a lot can get lost on a message. So maybe I'm saying it really nice, but the person reading it, it's reading it in a different tone.
Yes,
And we
and
can't control that.
there's a lot of things that go like a long way, like saying please, thank you, and well, all the
Yeah.
regular things that you say that your parents taught you since you were young, right?
So yeah, just being polite, courteous, and professional at all times. Because again, they're paying to stay at your place. It's not like you're paying them. They're not yours. They are paying here, and obviously you take care of your space and everything. But there's always a way to approach things.
So number two is something that Heidi gets told a lot, that she gets to answer emails or messages really quickly. So this is something that Heidi is really keen on. So number two is promptness.
Well, yeah, that's just, a quick reply, always being on the lookout for a message or if anything's going on, just to be sure that, you're on top of things. But yeah, I do have 5 stars on communication everywhere because that's what my job is. So sometimes I can't control how clean the room might be, or maybe it's not up to a standard of certain person.
And
Maybe they're,
that's something that is maybe outside the scope of your someone that is cleaning under you, right? That is outside
yeah.
in the co-hosting.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not the one cleaning the apartment. Someone that does that for me, that does the turnarounds for me here in El Paso, and then as a co-host, the owners have someone that they, chose to do this sort of turnarounds. And even though I could offer them my guidance and I can offer them my systems, I mean, I can't control the entirety of the outcome, or if the other person is just completely way pickier than any regular person, right? Because we all make mistakes. But the only thing I can control, it's me. So I respond as fast as possible. I respond to any inquiry as fast as possible. And I just make sure that any issues are answered immediately. I try not to take long to answer, because for me it's just important. Like if I have someone there already, then they're already at the app, right? They're already at the platform. So if I answer maybe an hour later, they won't be on their desktop, or they won't be on their phone, or I don't know. But if they send a message right now, I have a better opportunity to get to reply to that message as soon as possible, and they could probably reply back already. So we're able to fix the issue much faster than if I were to wait maybe an hour. So I just try to be prompt. I try to you know make sure that anything is answered quickly, even if it's just a question before booking, or if it's a question during booking, or if they don't know how to book, or they don't know how to do Airbnb, or they've never used the platform before. I try to help them out as much as I can, and obviously during their stay I'm always there.
So the next one is helps out a lot on how quick you answer. So number 3 is automated messages, and this is something that Heidi is as well pretty good at.
So right now, like I mentioned, Airbnb is getting up to that point where you can schedule messages and do some sort of automation. I haven't tried it because I've already been using another app. The app's called smartbnb.io. Yeah, IO. And it's been working great for me. They have already some sort of templates that they can use. I've just edited them out. I just, made them more towards what, the apartments need, or depending on the location. But I really like it. I like that they automatically reply to certain messages, to certain questions, like about pets, about stairs, about smoking, or well, not smoking, but about what to do. It sends automatically our blog. Um, if they have any questions about the building, usually it's able to answer them quickly. But I think the one that I get the most, it's about parking and about pets. So it's easy to do that because then it automatically replies, and I don't have to type out the whole info that we don't have a parking lot, there's free street parking, the parking garage is right across the street, or about the pets that, this building has a very strict no pets policy. We can't really accommodate you, but we do have another apartment that is pet friendly, that, if it's available, you can definitely request the dates there. So that sort of message, like, it would take me a while to write back, maybe just like a minute or so. But with this, like, they just do it automatically. It's already saved, and then they just send it as soon as they receive a similar question related to pets or related to parking. They just do it automatically. The other thing that they do is that I set up the way of having an automatic response once a booking is completed. So once someone confirms their booking request, then it automatically sends them a message welcoming them, telling them the address, where it is and how to get here, and what time is checking. So it just tells them that information right off the bat. And then before they check in, an hour before check-in time, that's when I send another message, and usually I include in that message the passcodes to the building, because the building's private. So I don't send that. I don't add that into the check-in instructions. I send that 1 hour before. And the reason I do that, it's because before I used to always just send it, 3 days before, but then I would have people showing up early, showing up whenever they want it, before their check-in time. And that's not right. Maybe some guests do need some guidance, and they need to be, told how things are. But there's some guests that they just want to take advantage of, like, oh, well, I already have the codes, I can just show up. Well, but what if I have someone there still? And that's why I don't do that. I don't like people showing up whenever they please. So I make sure that they don't get the code to enter the building until 1 hour before check-in time. So for me, 1 hour before check-in time, I make sure the room's ready for them to check in. And if they need, for any sort of reason, they need to check in early, now they can't just show up early. If they want to check in early because they don't have all the information, they will ask me. And I do have a charge for early check-ins or late checkouts. So it's just easier that way, and we're able to control more of the, foot traffic that's coming in, and making sure that the room is ready. Yeah, the room's ready, that it's actually clean, because my staff doesn't work well if they're under pressure because they're already at the lobby waiting for the room to be clean. It's like, well, you shouldn't be here at, 4 hours before. You should be here at 3. And I can't do anything about it. I mean, someone just checked out. It's not like I could kick them out earlier for you to check in early. So there's just some things that that's why I like this sort of automation. because it just sends them automatically. And then once the guest responds back, then that's when I get a message saying, hey, yeah, can you check? I'll be happy to pay the early check-in fee. Can you check if it's available for me to check in at noon? And that's when I'll be like, oh, you know what, it's available. Or no, sorry, I have someone there right now and their checkout is not until 11, so the room won't be ready until 3 p.m. Stuff like that. But yeah, the Airbnb automation, well, smart B&B, it's very good. The other thing that they automate, it's the reviews. So when I have a long-term stay, they automatically wait until the last second to post the review, which is 14 days. And that gives me a chance to actually review the person personally.
14 days after they leave, or?
Yeah, 14 days after checkout. And then, but I have the automation set that 3 days after checkout, if it was just a short-term stay, less than a week, I have like automated reviews where they'll have like a 5-star review. They'll have a quick description of, hey, everything was great. They were very clean. So as long as I don't have any issues with them and my staff doesn't tell me there was any damages, that review gets automatically posted 3 days after. But obviously, that's why I put it 3 days after, because during those 3 days, I make sure that there was no issues whatsoever. And my staff usually, the moment that they leave, the guest checks out, my staff goes in an hour later. So it doesn't take long for them to know if there was an issue or if there was a damage done. So that's why I make sure that 3 days later, if everything was fine, then it will be automatically posted, this review. If there was an issue, I have those 3 days for me to do an actual bad review, or if I have to ask for damages from the security deposit, then to do that too.
Okay, so going to number 4, you have to be knowledgeable about the policies and the rules are in the platform. So Heidi, can you help us out on how to answer questions from guests that are about Airbnb, or if they're actually from the policy, the listing?
Sure. Well, I mean, Airbnb has its own policies, or I guess not just policies, but way of how to get booked. Sometimes I get questions about of the payment. Oh, well, it's because it's charging me the entire thing right now, and it was saying it was gonna charge me blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, I don't control the payment process. The payment process is controlled by Airbnb. I can't decide how you will be charged, or so I can't do those things. But what my answer is always, it's what, here's the number for the customer service number for Airbnb. Give them a call or get onto the airbnb.com/help, and they're gonna be able to help you with your reservation. And then you can ask them, hey, can you split the payment, or you can figure something out. But those things I can't control, because that's why we all pay that service fee for Airbnb. I can't take control of the payment processing and still pay a service fee for them to take control of that. So I don't know. I never see the money from the guests until a day after they check out. I'm sorry, a day after they check in. And obviously the bank takes a while to deposit as well. So that's one of the reasons why I like Airbnb. I don't like to be in control of the payment process. That's what they're there for. They're the ones getting the credit card numbers. They're the ones getting everything sorted out. And that's the difference between when I get a question about my listing, like saying, hey, I see that you don't allow pets. It's like, well, I don't allow pets. But if they have a service animal, that's when my place is not pet friendly. But if you have a service animal, I can't tell you no, because Airbnb doesn't let me tell you no. So I can't tell you no, you can't bring your dog if it's a service animal. But you do have to provide I think you have to provide proof. Not like you just have to make sure that everything's okay with your service animal. But what I know is that when you bring a service animal, regardless if it makes any damages to the house, you are responsible for any damages that that animal does. So regardless if it's just, well, it's a service animal. Well, one, this is not a pet friendly zone. And if it does damages, you are responsible for all the damages, and it will come from your security deposit. And I am allowed to ask for like a pet deposit on top of that. So it's just, I always tell the people that want to book my place what for they have a service animal. I do let them know this is not ideal for a pet because they're a studio, so it's smaller. If you were to leave them here, they're gonna get nervous, they're gonna do some damage, and that's gonna come out of your pocket. So that's one of the reasons I tell them, maybe you should look for an actual place that is pet friendly, because this is not really made for a pet friendly space. But nevertheless, I've had people stay with service animals regardless if my place is not pet friendly, because I can't say no. So, I mean, that's okay. I just don't like it when some people take advantage of that, and it's not a service animal. It's just their pet that they don't want to leave behind. So, I mean, you just have that you don't really know, because you're trusting the guests that they're being honest. Um, but I guess that's just an example that I could think of.
Okay, so going into number 5, it's how to deal with feedback, and therefore you go in and do improvements. So can you tell us about an example, or how would you handle feedback?
So I had this guest one time. He stayed at apartment 13, and I remember he was texting me, hey, there's no corkscrew, or hey, there's no can opener. So we would immediately, go out and buy it and just bring it over. And then he was like, you know what? It's very dark in here. Do you have another lamp? So for me, I didn't feel like he was complaining. I felt like it was feedback. So, and then I was like, yeah, yeah, sure. And I told him, you know what? Please let me know what you might think it's missing, or that we could have provided for a better experience. And he was wonderful. Like, he told me, hey, you know what, we recently stayed at this other place, they had like the Wi-Fi password somewhere here, and you could probably add some light, like those automatic lights, battery operated, on the kitchen, so it's not so dark at night. And then he gave me the perfect way on how to word the parking situation. He's like, you know what, you should tell him, hey, yeah, there's no parking lot, there's free street parking, which isn't a problem after 4 p.m. But there's also the parking garage where you could use. It's hourly, up to $10 for 24 hours. So those things, like, I didn't know any better either. So he was telling me how to reword those sort of messages so that people could be more aware of my surroundings. And I really appreciated this guest. He gave me a 5-star review. He gave me all of those tips on my personal message thread, and we implemented each and every tip that he gave us, and we made sure that it's still going on for any other apartments.
And this is pretty early on when we started, so it helped us out from
Yeah, I think
almost from the start.
we were just probably like 6 months in when we had this guest. And I mean, again, one of the reasons why it was so bad, it was because we just started, right? So there was like no can opener, or no for the wine or stuff like that, because we didn't know any better. But yeah, once we started getting better at this, and being able to get that feedback, I haven't had anyone give me feedback in ever since then, other than like, oh, you should add a TV here, and it's like, okay, you know, we added another TV, because it was a 2 bedroom and the TV I think was like on the living room or something like that, and it's like, you know, I don't think it's like feedback. It's more of amenity that they were like, oh well, I wanted a TV on my own, so which is fine. We ended up putting 2 TVs on each room. I mean, a TV in each room.
Okay, number 6 is responsibility. So this is both in part of the guest and the host on what the house rules are. Can you elaborate a little bit more onto the responsibility? Like you talk to the guest, you let them know that the house rules are.
Oh, okay. So I do have a certain house rules depending on the house, and I only send those rules to people that are staying for more than a week. If you're staying in and out, I don't even bother bothering you, because you're just gonna be here for a very quick time. We're gonna be able to come in and do the cleaning, maybe 2-3 days later after you check out. But when I have people staying more than a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, I do send them this, it's more like a guideline of what I expect, and also some more information of what they can do. For example, since we no longer go into the apartments and do the weekly cleaning of the shower doors and floor maintenance because of COVID, then I do require for them to make sure that no watermarks are left on the shower doors. And that's their responsibility if they're actually going to stay here with me. If that is damage done, I will take that from their security deposit, because that it's a house rule. So it's like, if you break my house rules, I'm able to kick you out, right? But since I can't go in right now, then obviously I can charge that onto your security deposit. But those are that's one example. But other than that, I pretty much give them more information about, hey, here's a laundromat. It's at the end of the hallway. Please water the plants. If there's any plants inside your apartment, make sure to water them at least twice a week. The garbage container, where it's located,
And what time they pick it up.
And then another thing that I tell them, it's like the mailing address where they need to mail their things, because I don't allow them to mail their stuff directly to each apartment number. So those are the things that I let them know as soon as they check in the day after, because if they start getting packages, or if they start and they put their own apartment number, I don't have access to those mailboxes. So it's going to be their loss. They're going to have to figure out a way to get it out of there, because it's not my responsibility. That's why I'm letting them know exactly where they need to mail their stuff. So I just let them know, like, this sort of just guidelines and what to do. And obviously I always make sure that they let me know if there's any issues as soon as there's any issues. I don't like to be blindsided, and I don't like to not be told exactly when it's happening, and then they wait a couple of days or a week, and then the problem gets bigger. So I always make sure that they tell me as soon as possible. I've had people that still, after I send them my guidelines, they still don't let me know if there's an issue, and then they expect me to do a quick turnaround after they've waited to tell me. It's like, I can't do something like that. Like, we have to meet halfway. You have to let me know if there's an issue, and I have to respond to that issue as soon as I can. But if you don't let me know, I don't have any sort of way of knowing if there's a problem inside your apartment, because I don't go in your apartment. So if you don't tell me, I can't know. But those are the things those are more like guidelines, and that I make sure that they do tell me if there's an issue.
Okay, the number 7 is how to handle house issues. Once the guest checks out, let's say a chair is broken or something like that. you have to contact the guest, and how would that conversation go?
So I had it gone both ways. One way just directly with the guest, and one way where I had to go through the Airbnb platform and submit damage report. So the way that it happens, if there's any damage, number one, you have to make sure that if it's you the one that's cleaning, or if you have someone cleaning, the moment that they walk in, they can't start cleaning. They first have to check that everything's okay, that there's no damage, that there's no scratches, or that there's nothing torn. They have to make sure that that everything's fine, and they have to take pictures. That's the most important thing too. Don't take videos. I don't care about the videos. I need pictures. I need pictures of everything, because I can't upload a video to the platform for damages. I can only upload pictures. I can upload pictures of receipts. I can upload pictures of the damage. I can upload, so pictures. So the way that it works is just, getting whoever's gonna be there, make sure that they check the place out and that everything's fine. If it's not, if there's a damage done, take pictures of the damage, send them to me, and then I can what I've done is that I first reach out to the guest, and I'm like, hey, you know what? We just got in, you just left, but we're just here. We got in and we see that there's this damage done, and this is what's going to cost to replace it. And if they don't answer you back, then you have to submit it through Airbnb. And the reason you have to submit it through Airbnb if they don't answer anything back, it's because you only have until the next guest checks in to submit a damage report. If you wait until the other guest checked in, you can no longer submit anything. They will reject it, because now it's like, well, we don't know if it was the new person or the old person that made the damage. So that's why you have to make sure that you do it as soon as possible. You have to let your staff know that they have to get on top of things as soon as possible. These things can't wait, because if we wait too long, then you lose that time frame where you can actually submit a damage report. So once you submit a damage report, if the person doesn't contact, if they don't answer you back saying, hey, you know what, I'll pay for it, then you have to go through the Airbnb platform and then submit that damage report, and then Airbnb will take care of things, and they will analyze things, and then they will decide if the amount you're requesting it's okay, and then they'll charge that to the security deposit that they had hold onto the guest. Now, this security deposit you choose. So in each listing of mine, I went ahead and I put what security deposit I think it's appropriate for the listing. And some I have $500, some I have $150, some I have $300. It depends on the space. So they don't put a hold on that on their card, but they do know that they are able to go up until that much. So that's what you just have to have receipts of everything. You have to make sure that, if you bought that TV, you have a receipt of how much it costs you, because if they break it, then you know how much it's going to cost you to repair it. Or to replace it. So my experience when I submitted a request with the guest, I sent them a message. They answered back. They were very courteous. They were very, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't notice, but yeah, we'll take care of it. Send me how much I owe you. And I didn't send them through Venmo. I didn't send them through Cash App. No, I requested money. You can request money through Airbnb. And I requested money there. I submitted the picture of the damages, and then I just submitted the quantity that I needed to get back. Once he went ahead and he accepted that, then they charged him. Airbnb charged him directly, and they charged me a service fee for doing that whole payment processing fee, which is fine. And then they paid me out those $50 extra that I had to charge, and I ended up getting 47 of the $50 or something like that. And then when I went and had to do it differently through the Airbnb platform, there I did have to submit already the damage and the receipt that I had already replaced the it was a kettle. It was an electric kettle they put on top of the stove, and it melted the whole bottom part. So then we had to replace it, and I had to replace it ASAP. So I went ahead, I bought the whichever was available, and it cost me like $40, which the one that I had was like 15. But I couldn't wait until another guest came in, because if I say that that I'm offering this, then I have to make sure that it's there. So anyway, so I had to, run, and I had to do a quick run, and I ended up, so I got the receipt. That's the receipt I uploaded to the Airbnb platform, and then they approved the receipt, and then they deposited the funds into my account. Also through the Airbnb account that I have on my payout listing. So that was how it's done. But again, communication, it's always key. There's always an easier way to do it if you're able to communicate with your guests and let them know what's going on. Then if they don't answer back, I mean, there's nothing you can do when someone doesn't answer you back. You can just, go ahead and follow the steps that you're supposed to take when there's a damage done to your property.
Number 8 is how different would you communicate between a property that is being of your own versus co-hosting? So what are the differences, or if there are none, so what would you say?
I don't separate them. How I am, it's how I am. How I respond to everyone, because that's my branding. That's us. Like, our branding, it's Seoenz. So if you're part of my umbrella, then you're gonna get what I do. I don't do less or more if it's for a co-host, or if it's a remote. If I'm hosting remotely, which I do in Playa del Carmen, then not because I'm not there doesn't mean that you get a different outcome from me. Especially with communication, my communication is pretty much the same throughout anything that comes my way on Airbnb. So I always answer politely, I always answer respectfully, but I always answer. And I think that's the main thing. I always answer, regardless if it's for my co-hosting, or if it's remote, or if it's here in El Paso, I always answer. So I'm the first to answer, no matter what, because that's my job. And I take my job pretty seriously. So I understand that communication, for me, my time is priceless. And if that's how I feel about myself, I try to make sure that that's what I offer to my guests. So if they're taking the time to send me a message letting me know of an issue, or if anything's going on, I make sure to answer them back promptly, so that they feel heard, they feel valued, and they want to actually, give me that 5-star rating, regardless if there was a bump in the road. But they feel like they were heard, and the issue was resolved, and that they are happy with their stay, and they were happy with me as their hosts. So I don't feel I have any differences. My messages, my templates, everything that I use it all through everyone. And that's just, I'm the host, so I'm the one that's making sure that everything is running smoothly.
I guess the communication that is different is added is the back end, which is you have to let maybe the remotely someone else to give directions to the cleaning crew, or to do crew.
Yeah, but that's not
But
for
not to
the
the
guest.
guest.
Yeah,
The
the guest
guest is
gets
always the
me.
same.
Yeah, the guest is the same. But obviously the communication, me being in El Paso and then having Playa del Carmen, I have to contact my staff over there and let them know, hey, you know what? We're gonna have a guest checking in this date. I need the place to be clean this date. It has to be ready by this time, and you have to be there to receive the guests at this time. So I always just try to, well, step by step, telling them exactly what needs to be done. But again, that's something on the back end of me letting them know what needs to be done, either remotely in Playa del Carmen or North Carolina or Dallas, whatever. So that's what we try to do.
Perfect. So thank you very much for joining. This was communication strategies on Airbnb, and we would wrap this thing up with please share, comment,
Like,
this video, and if you have any questions, please let us know through the comment section below. And if you need more information on other topics, we on the information below this video, there's a couple of links on other videos that will help you out getting started on your first Airbnb. Thank you for tuning today and watching us.
you can follow us on @Made by Seoenz, and you can also find me at EP Texas Airbnb. You can send me a message there for an Airbnb consultation here in El Paso or wherever you might be. We can do that virtually or in person. And then our website is seoenz.com. That's SEOENZ.com. And my email is heidi@seoenz.com. So you're welcome to shoot me an email. If you guys have any questions or feedback, we'll be happy to take that information in. So thank you again. We are Side Hustles by Seoenz.
See you next week.